bit late just because of some technical issues, but we're gonna be starting soon, so get those soft drinks, get some snacks, eat some nice chocolate pudding, and be ready in a sec. Anyway, how's everyone's day going, huh? Everyone's been enjoying their day, relaxing on Friday, getting some Pokemon news. Did YouTube break again? I'm getting an error that says YouTube's not responding. I don't like that. Except it does say, YouTube does say I'm live still, okay. Oh, whatever. As long as it says live, I'm gonna believe it's live. I'm gonna ignore this error. It says YouTube is not responding, and let's get right on into it. Hello, everybody. How is it going? Welcome back to another DS Dissects. This time, it's gonna be a rather chill time. There's not too much I had in store as far as this one goes. I just thought it was neat. Honestly, just feeling the Friday, like, I just want to go and, like, you know, take a nap or something. It's that kind of Friday. How's everyone else doing? Oh, also, yeah, I forgot to set ultra low latency on YouTube, so YouTube might be a bit behind Twitch chat. Oops, sorry, YouTube. Quarantine number 4 for you. What do you mean number 4? And after you got another sick roommate or what? Hate to see it. Anyways, let's dive on into it so this doesn't take forever and a year to get through. So, you've been in quarantine 4 times now. Gosh, I'm sorry. It's gonna suck. I mean, I haven't had to experience it yet. I've had to. The worst I've had to do for COVID is move out of my apartment and find a new apartment like super fast on the spot. But other than that, I haven't had to like do much besides the normal. But yeah, let's get right into it. So let's see, as you may or may not have seen by now. So first of all, I'm starting to stream a little bit later because there was an equal split of people on the YouTube poll that were like, start it either right after the video on Fridays or start it a little bit later after the video on Fridays. So this is testing out the little bit later. We're going at 5 p.m. seeing how it's like, seeing what people are thinking, seeing if more people show up today. And so far it looks like we have an okay amount of viewers. Okay-ish. Honestly, it was popping more when it was earlier. Maybe people were meaning like 8 p.m. on like Friday, but like I have stuff to do at later at night, so I don't know if I can do that late on Fridays. Plus I have dinner to eat, so you know. But yeah, we're gonna try it out, see what happens. So as you may or may not have seen by now, this is the newest video that I put up, Promise Reprise from Silent Hill 2. Now, like, let's start out with a bit of background. So for those of you that are not yet educated on Silent Hill 2, it's definitely a game. It's like Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 4, I mean, tier of iconic video game. It's like one of the major horror landmarks just because it established like a staple like atmosphere and soundtrack and story for what would make a good psychological horror game. And it was kind of very, very ahead for its time. Like, you can see videos by like Super Eye Patch Wolf. Honestly, I was kind of inspired to look more into this game because of Super Eye Patch Wolf's video on it. And I was like, man, this is a pretty compelling looking story. My favorite kind of game, it's definitely a game. Yeah, as opposed to it's definitely not a game. So yeah, after that, I was like, oh, let's look in. Once again, if Levi is in the chat, I'm gonna have to disappoint him and say, I've never played a Silent Hill game, but I'm covering it anyway. So yeah, I've heard that Silent Hill like 1 through 3 are the good ones, and the other ones like are iffy quality from there. But like 2 is the staple. So what happens in Silent Hill 2? Well, there's this guy called James Sunderland, and he has a wife who sends him a letter to come back to go to Silent Hill. Like, oh, I want to meet you in this special place that we went to, and he's like, okay, well that's neat, but my wife is, she's kind of dead. So how would she send me a letter to go back to the Silent Hill? That's kind of spooky, but he's just like, whatever, we'll do it. He goes off. Lots of spooky things happen. It's pretty neat. That's as much as I really need to. I think that's not really spoiling anything. That's as much of the game as you probably need to know for now. Other than it's spooky, has lots of good atmosphere and ambiance. And let's listen to the original track real quick. So here's the original track. And also another one of the reasons that I decided to pick this track is because if you've ever watched any like horror video essays, you might have heard this song in the background because it seems like every single horror YouTuber uses this song at least once in their videos. So yeah, let's take a listen real quick. There's definitely piano in it, as you can hear. Oh, for F11, yes. Get nice spooky, like, ambient, synth textures in the background. Little innocent sounding pling plongs. Yeah, you probably get one of those stuff from it. It just keeps going. It's basically that for most of this track. So let's break down some of the key elements of this. So you have, of course, you have the piano, which is a repeating a bum 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 bum, which gives this like steady, very stable sort of pace to the piece. It's like comparing this to like the mental journey of like James Sunderland throughout the piece. This is like that very stable piano line. It like keeps repeating throughout. It's kind of like the one bit of normality / sanity that he like clings to. He just wants something normal that he can always have a grasp on. And that's kind of like what the piano line embodies, because it just keeps going from just that same line over and over again. And on top of the piano line, you have little, what's it called? Glockenspiel. Sort of music boxy sounding, and all good horror soundtracks gotta have a music box sound, right? In order to have that eerie, ironic innocence about it. But in this case, it makes sense because James Sunderland's just like, I'm just a normal guy, and like, I'm very innocent. At least in the beginning, it seems like, oh, he's just an innocent guy, nothing special about him. Why is all this stuff happening to him? So, juxtaposing these creepy atmospheres with like the comfortable sounding Glockenspiel gives like this sort of tension between the opposing sounds that helps to build the atmosphere. Oh, sounds more like a vibraphone? Yeah, it kind of does, because it's not as clingy or clinky as a Glockenspiel. And then you have that little like saturated pad in the background going wah. And you notice how the pad sort of like doesn't have any like very distinct start or end. It just sort of like fades in, like fades out, kind of like in ripples, which kind of emulates like how. So if you don't know already, Silent Hill is a game that's very famous for its use of fog effects in order to, well, practically it's good because it helps to like keep the draw distance in the game low, but it's also a good like creep factor because like you can't really see what's out into the distance, so you're always like nervous about what might be out there in the fog. And so these like background synths sort of give that eerie, foggy vibe about like you can't really tell where the harmonies are going because they're all like blurred out by this one synthesizer chord that plays. And it keeps doing that and does that a lot. Yes. So now that we have that, let's go to the arrangement and just talk it through a bit. So starting from the beginning. So first of all, to give context, the sort of tale that I wanted to spin with this arrangement was I wanted to sort of tell the tale of James Sunderland, where he's like, at first he's just trying to be a normal guy, but through like the musical experience, you sort of see how his mind like gets kind of warped, his mindset gets warped and corrupted by journeying to the other world, which is the weird demonic hellscape that Silent Hill turns into. So whenever he turns to the other world, it sort of like rewrites everything he thinks he knows about this peaceful town that he used to go to with his wife. And I want to sort of mimic that through some of the things that I did in the arrangement, and I am spinning my hands around. Don't know why. I'm just like, make up more stuff, make up more stuff, make up more stuff. So yeah, let's get to the beginning. So first I wanted to have that sort of shady vibe about it. Like, you don't know everything about James. You just know a very general description of him. It seems like there's weird things going on with him because, he gets a letter from his dead wife. So it's like, that's sort of weird. It sort of makes, starts a mystery that you want to, that envelops your brain and you want to figure out by the end. So in the beginning, we start with some of those very long, drawn out, very melancholy chords. And these are like similar to the chords that synthesizer was playing in the original track. So you got that like foggy, mysterious vibe about it. And then you start the main melodic, or the main harmonic, not melodic, the main rhythmic motif, the bum 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 bum. You start it here. Little bit of a melancholic riff, because why not? And then right here, notice. So notice how the last chord of the here sort of merges into the beginning of the actual piece. And the reason that I did that was because if you actually listen very closely in the original, listen to the background of the first chord. If you blinked, you probably missed it, or if you not blinked, if you sneezed, you probably missed it. But like, listen to like a faint like doo in the background. Did you catch it? I'll play it a couple times. Doo. You can sort of hear a little ghost of that synthesizer in the background right off the bat in the first chord of the original piece, which I thought was pretty neat. It already kind of establishes that the mystery started from even before the story started. There's something that mysterious about it that you already don't know what's going on before the game even starts. You don't hear it? What if I made it louder? Will that blow out our eardrums? Let's see. It's just a little do. Is do and do. One of those two chords. One of those two tones. There's those two tones playing in the background. I could repeat this for all time, but just trust me, it's there. It's there. You can if you listen to it super closely and try hard it like I did, you'll hear that synthesizer that's like sort of ominously in the background from the beginning. Yeah, it's sort of like an overtone sounding thing. Very pianissimo. And so, in order to recreate that, because I couldn't exactly like play that quietly on the piano without it like getting drowned out by the opening rhythm, what I did was had those same two notes that you can hear, the same two overtones that you heard in the original track. I started them very early and have them bleed into the beginning of the piece. And that way those overtones sort of like are like mysteriously sort of there at the beginning. And so in that way, I wanted to establish the mystery of this musical journey from the beginning by playing with like the foggy chords at first, establishing this sense of dread and like foreboding and melancholy. I'm gonna say melancholy a lot. It's a lot more sophisticated of a word to say than sadness. Sad piano times. And have that bleed into the beginning of the actual piece. Want to keep it very simple, very straightforward, very to the point. Mimic the original, because this is the line which, like I mentioned before, is supposed to mimic. No, it's supposed to tell of how James Sunderland is trying to cling to something normal. It's like normal-ish rhythmic line. I also put in some like phrasing so that the lines swell, like to have this sort of like, also mimic the tone of those synthesizers that were sort of like wah in the background. And also just a interesting little piano technique. If you notice back in this part, you see you hear the left hand go bum 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 bum. And now that line, which is pretty integral to the rhythmic motif, you'll notice that it never leaves. Even in all these fancy left hand shenanigans that we're doing, you'll still be able to faintly hear those same notes throughout everything. Bum 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 bum. I know it's very hard to hear with me singing on top of it, but trust me, they're there. A lot of this is gonna be, trust me, it's there. So you can, there's sort of like 3 lines going on at once right now. There's the right hand vibraphone glockenspiel thing. There's the bum 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 going on the left hand, and there's also the ba da ba da 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 dun da da dun 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 da 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 dun dun. It's sort of like a 3-handed piano line, but the left hand is basically playing 2 of the lines, and they're overlapping. How long is this? Gosh, it's 6 freaking minutes. Then I wanted to establish some more like bass notes, establish a bass line, something a little more dark, something a little more somber. Then here's a funny thing that I noticed, that in this left hand line, it was the bum 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 bum. Every single arpeggio that's played in this chord fits in some sort of C chord. So that's why here I hit a C on the low end, and that makes this become C sus, C minor, C major, C minor. And yeah, every single one of those arpeggios fit into some sort of C chord, which I thought was just kind of neat. So I wanted to put that in there. I like being able to like rewrite chords or arpeggios so that if they fit in the context of another chord without having to change the original line, then I just think that's kind of neat, and I'll just go for it. How's it going, AJ? Welcome to the stream. Sorry if I'm very late on your response, because right now I have YouTube. I forgot to put YouTube on ultra low latency mode. But how do you make your sustain pedal not lengthen your MIDI notes? Well, technically, that's what sustain pedal does. It takes whatever note you play, and it doesn't stop the note, even if you let go of it. So, technically, the MIDI note will only be, like, a certain length, but the way it plays back is that it will play the entire sample until you let go of the sustain pedal. Like, for example, if, like, this is a MIDI note. I wish I had, a diagram or a piece of paper or something. But if let's say this is the cursor moving through your DAW, and this is like your MIDI note, right? So let's say it plays your MIDI note, bing. You can sort of see what I'm trying to do here, bing. It plays the MIDI note, but if you put a sustain pedal on it, then the MIDI note will still stay the same exact length. It's just that the entire sample will play while the sustain pedal is held down, because that's how sustain pedal works. it lets the piano string resonate even when you're not like hitting the note, because you hit the note and it's not being damped by anything since you're holding the sustain pedal. So basically, technically, your MIDI note does not get longer. It's just that while you're playing sustain pedal, your note will not stop until you let go of the sustain pedal, because that's how it works on a piano. So it'll play bing. So it'll keep going. I mean, of course it'll decay like a normal note. It's just that it'll, play it like if you were... It'll basically play it as if you're holding a note, even though the MIDI is only like a certain length. I hope that was informative. If you feel free to ask more questions if there's anything else you want me to clarify on. But let's get right back into the thing. We were gonna... Well, it theoretically doesn't stop. Theoretically... I mean, technically on a quantum level, wouldn't there be enough friction between air molecules at some point where all the energy dissipates and it's lost as like heat? Or lost as entropy or something? I don't know, this is beyond the music theory that I know. I don't want to talk about... I mean, I do want to talk about the science of music theory, but I feel like I'm gonna end up going into territory which I'm not the most familiar with. But enough about the quantum aspects of music theory. Let's get into the interesting part of the tune. So here you'll notice this is the exact same rhythmic motif in the right hand. The bum 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 bum. It's the exact same motif and exact same chord progression, but now we have moved from G minor to B flat minor. Now this is a very common... Save it for Magfest. Oh yeah. Oh my god. I have not seen that nickname for you in a while. How's it going? Dreamlick Tunes, aka the man, the myth, the legend, NCC. Wait, no, or is that AJ? I'm so dumb. Please don't call me dumb if I misnamed you. I feel like Dreamlick was SNCC. I have not heard that name in a while. But please make sure to call me out on twitter.com if I messed it up. Anyway, so yeah, going from G minor to B flat minor is a very common like cinematic chord change. Not chord, modulation, because it's really easy to just go like, as you can see in my left hand. Where is it? Oh gosh, I missed the modulation. Let's see, starts on G. So it goes G, A, B flat, da, da, da. And that's basically going up the G minor scale, but then you modulate while you're doing it. It's a very common technique because it's just really easy to be lazy with it. Be like, okay, I want to modulate, so let's just go G, go up to a minor third, that's a modulation. Go up a minor third, it's another modulation. You can just do that forever. Lots of cinematic trailers do this. And I'm also I can also be lazy with this, as you'll see later in this piece. But the reason I do this is because this is when the piece starts to get weird, per se. Like, you're starting to change keys. You're going from G minor to B flat minor. What a key. B flat minor is pretty nice, not gonna lie. And this changing of keys, I was, at least in my opinion, well, at least how I interpreted it while I was making it, because I made it, is supposed to be like the sort of beginning of entering the other world in Silent Hill. Because once you enter the other world, it's like, gameplay wise, you're in the exact same locale, but now there's like monsters popping up and everything's something like demonic, and like your view of the world is like sort of changing. So it's the same world, but just in like a demonic hellscape sort of way, you know? So in order to sort of get those vibes, you have the same thing being played in the right hand, bum 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 bum, but now it's in a different key and it makes it feel a little bit off. It makes it feel a little weird. And at first it's just like, okay, we changed keys a little off, have a little bit of rumbling in the left hand, just to add some atmosphere. Nothing too different. And then here it is again, that minor third modulation. You go from B flat minor, go up B flat, C, D flat, and now you're in D flat minor. Or no one likes to call it D flat minor, so we'll just call it C sharp minor. Even though personally, I like D flat minor because I'm a flat fan. Flat fans in the chat. Who's ready for Flat Frick Friday? Band, any band kids in the chat? Let's go band. All we know is flats. Anything with less than 2 flats, and we have a problem. Oh, thank you. I actually did a cover of Air de Sol in my other channel, heavily based on your version. I feel like my MIDI notes are very messy compared to yours to use for Synthesia. Oh, I mean, it can really depend on how much pedal you use, because if you let the pedal, if you just use the pedal way too much, then things will sound messy, because there's like too many notes like being sustained all together, and it just gets everything sounding clustered. It could also be just like equalization, like adjusting what frequencies are being played, because sometimes piano can get a little muddy, like some of the low mid frequency. This is like going into like music production stuff, but sometimes like the low mid frequencies, like they can get a little jumbled up and makes things just sound muddy and messy, which of course not everyone can alleviate that, because some people, like, you're just recording a piano, you don't have all those fancy EQ tools and whatnot to fix that. So basically just being being moderate about using pedal is a better way to do it. It's better to try to fix your problems while performing rather than trying to fix them in post-production. So don't look, and that's the problem I've had sometimes with recording. So don't look to like be like, oh, my piano sounds messy, I'll fix it later. Try to like train yourself to not use as much pedal so that things don't sound messy beforehand, so you can build good habits while playing piano. Where's the double flat, double sharp keys? Are you saying we have a F double flat minor gang? All right, let's get back into it. So we've modulated to C sharp minor, and now I add a little bit extra to this. The last modulation was just okay, we modulated keys. That's all we really did. But now you add a little bit of harmonic context to it. So you hear these like something very like Gregorian chant-esque, and adding these like little bit of harmonic context sort of like brings you into the key more. Like in the last one you just modulated, but you played the same exact thing, so it's like, okay, sure, we modulate, but now you modulated and you're playing a little bit of harmonic thingies that relate to the key we were in. So now you like feel a little more pulled toward the new key. So you're starting to feel like you are being pulled along on this like chaotic journey of like key changes, and your safety harmony, the bum 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 bum, the thing that you want to be always constant, is now like keeps changing keys along with the rest of the song. So you're like, your mentality started being dragged with the modulations as you're being dragged into the other world and all these crazy weird demonic hellscapes. So thank you very much. Yeah, no problem. I'm definitely still here to answer more questions while we're still doing this. And again, here we have another modulation, because why not? We have C sharp minor, they go C sharp, D sharp, E, and now we are in E minor. And now, I mentioned how last time we were starting to get dragged into the new key because I added some extra snippets in the left hand that pertain to the context of the new key we're in. Now I wanted to fully embrace that we are being dragged along to a new key by putting in a new bass line. In the last iteration, you notice how the bass note was just always C sharp. That's all it really did, it stayed on C sharp. But now in this new key, we actually have a bass line that starts changing the chords around on us. So there's a little bit of movement in the left hand and adding an extra bass line that re-harmonizes some of the chords. It's another way to get us like feeling pretty chaotic as we're like, oh, now we're using new chords and stuff. This isn't what we were used to. I don't like this. I'm just trying to vibe. And there's some fancy, fun re-harmonizations I did in here. They're fun. It's technically the same exact right hand part, but just in a different... The same exact right hand part, there's no changes in the intervals played, But the left hand, the way the chords is playing, implies new chords in the right hand. Like, for example, normally this chord right here, if we were doing it if it was going around normally, this would be just an A minor chord because the right hand's playing an A minor arpeggio. However, the left hand plays F sharp, which adds that little bit of and that little tang changes our A minor chord to a, I think this is F sharp half diminished chord, which it sort of serves the same purpose as A minor, but adding that F sharp just adds a little bit extra dissonance and changes the chord just enough to make it sound different. It makes the right hand sound different, even though it's technically playing the same notes. Here's an interesting chord. This is that sort of weird, wonky chord. Before, this would just be, the right hand would just be playing like an A major chord, but this is A major over B, which sort of functions as a dominant seventh in a weird sort of way because you have the dominant of B, the dominant seventh of B, which is A, in that chord. Wonky music theory stuff, but just more things to make the chords make the chords sound different, even though the right hand's technically playing the same exact thing over and over again. Another weird thing, one last wonky chord. So instead of playing A minor, even though the right hand's technically playing A minor, the bass line being F changes this to an F major 7 chord instead of A minor. You see how he changed an entire minor chord into a major chord just by having a different bass line. Even though the right hand, again, is still playing the same thing. So that's just kind of... And all throughout that, you've sort of seen this evolution of, like, going into weird dark places by modulating the key every once in a while, and then slowly dragging us into it by just modulating, then adding some harmonic context, and then completely shifting things up by changing bass lines. And once again, the right hand is just playing the same exact thing that you're trying to keep a grasp on. You're trying to keep a grasp on your sanity. You're trying to hear the same thing that you were attached to, the da 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 da, but it's being pulled around by these weird harmonies and chords. And also, I'll have to admit, I was a little lazy in that section. I did the exact same thing in my Resident Evil 2 save room cover, by just like keep going up with modulations in minor thirds, but this time I swear there's a purpose to it, so that's just that's my 2 cents. And now here we got rid of that right hand figure, and now it's being replaced by arpeggios, where these arpeggios are playing the same chords. These arpeggios are playing the same chords that were playing in the beginning, so it's the same like mysterious synth chords, but now it's like sort of like dreamily arpeggiating up and down the scale. Like I mentioned in the Lon Lon Ranch dissection, how the arpeggio used to add like a very dreamy, unconscious sort of quality about it, and that's how I wanted to morph the mysterious chords from the beginning into more of a dream. Like, is this now that we've like modulated into this dark place, is this real life? I'm not really even sure where I am anymore. Just let the record show you are here. I will catch on tape that Yanatoko was here. How is it going? How is your Friday? Anyways, we're talking about piano acid trips. It's great. So yeah, this is like the dreamy sort of like, is this real life? I don't want this to be real life. It is creepy, weird, spooky, scary skeletons and monsters and stuff. In order to try to retain some sanity, you get the left hand plays that harmonica motif again, the bum 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 bum. Then incorporate just like a new melody into the right hand because I thought it sounded neat. Also, wait, can I bring up the I want to bring up real quick for a hot moment the actual original track. So you might notice how it's called Promise Reprise. Well, and what's the original Promise then? Well, if you look up Silent Hill 2 Promise, the original track, it's like... Is this the one that's the punk song, or is this the guitar version? I forgot. Let me check. Well, let's check together. And you notice how in the original track you have that bum 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 motif in the background. It's a slightly different chord progression, but it's like the same rhythmic motif. Very Green Day vibe. This is half of the reason why people think that people say Silent Hill 2 soundtrack is so good. You got weird ambience combined with like very human sounding rock pieces like this, which sort of highlights the human struggle throughout the game. And eventually in a bit it'll come to the part that you guys will recognize. Let me just skip ahead of it. And you'll notice how in this section it will sort of focus on that doo-doo-doo, that G, A, B flat, those notes a lot. And if you can't listen to the entire thing now, but trust me when I say it focuses a lot on that like sort of area between like G and B flat. And so I wanted to sort of take a bit of that and put it into this cover by improvising a little melodic bit that uses those like the B flats, uses the A's, uses those very like emotional sounding notes from that the guitar riffs are on. Here, the B flat, going from B flat to A, and it starts ramping up in intensity. And you'll notice how even in this section where everything's going crazy, you'll still hear that same motif that I played with the bum 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 bum. So you'll notice how that comes back in this section. Bum 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 bum. I'm really glad I could just point at the MIDI notes and be like, yes, look at that there, that is a note, I swear. Bum 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 bum. So it's that same like sort of thread tying throughout this section. It just gets more and more crazy as like, you know, the mentality gets more crazy as you're starting to discover new secrets about yourself. James Sunderland discovers more secrets about stuff. He starts learning about his past and whatnot, and it's just like, man, this is some messed up stuff. Even though you're trying to retain the sanity by playing the same bum 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 over and over again, along with the bum 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 bum. But it just keeps getting crazier and crazier through the experiences in Silent Hill. And then here we get a whole like basic you get like a climax to this. You have huge full chords, very dramatic, and this is playing the original melody which I played in the beginning of the song. So the bum 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 bum. I swear it's a melody. That is a melody. I swear, it's that Glockenspiel line that we were talking about. The Glockenspiel slash, what's it called? Glockenspiel slash vibraphone vibe. And now it's that same exact Glockenspiel line being played here, except just in like giant chaotic chords. Bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. And here's another interesting thing I found. So remember how I mentioned earlier how you could play a C underneath that entire bass line? and have the chords all be coherent. You can also sort of do the same thing with A flat. So here, this would be... That's like A flat major 7. You're playing an A flat underneath like a G minor chord, which changes it from G minor to like some weird amalgamation of like A flat, some weird mode of A flat, which just gives it a more of an eerie, tense vibe. And then it goes from A flat to A, which changes this to an A minor 7 chord. And that's an A half diminished 7th chord. So once again, those things I mentioned earlier with like changing up the chords not by changing the actual like right hand idea, but by changing the context of some of the chords, like using the bass line, using the modulations, and etc., just to develop the basic theme more. And then we go back to these chords from the exact same as the beginning. And now here is the same exact thing as the beginning again, where in the beginning we played bum 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 bum, and we just went up the octaves into that. We play this exact same thing, except we add in the gosh, YouTube, please go to the right place. Except you add in a little upwards arpeggio. So it's this little like thread of like the things that happened before that are now like entangled in what you thought you were comfortable with. Like the rhythmic bum 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 line is now entangled with all the crazy stuff that you've been experiencing. So now we're sort of seeing the combination of your fragile mind state and the weird experiences you've been going through combine into the original motifs, showing sort of like the degradation of the mind over the course of the game. And you might be thinking, oh, but this is down the same exact thing. We're back to normal, right? Well, not exactly. Because notice here, I don't know how easy that was to tell, but there was like zero phrasing on... There's like zero phrasing in this section. And you may have... I remember in the beginning I mentioned like I included some very prevalent like crescendos and decrescendos here, like here. But here, YouTube please. Here I take them out all together. So it's like sort of a shell of its former self. Like there's no like emotional attachment because like it's just playing straight notes. There's no real like change or complexity to it. So it sort of embeds that vibe of like after all those experiences, like you sort of feel dead inside. You feel like, man, people can be this messed up. I need to rethink my life. I want to go home. I like a refund. Please, no, not like this. And then this is just a thing that was in the original track, which I thought was neat, and honestly, this is a little bit of padding. Oops, sorry. Let the record state that I admitted this is padding. And now it's extra especially quiet. And it just starts fading out. And it just like echoes here. And there you go. And so basically what that shows is that first you had like the very emotional, dramatic, and mysterious beginning, which eventually got dragged through the very chaotic middle, and it left the main melodic motifs like an empty husk by the end, which is supposed to mimic the mental journey of James Sunderland, as in the beginning he's just a normal man. He's a normal man with normal feelings, trying to find his dead wife, which totally makes sense. and then being dragged through the experiences through Silent Hill, through the other world, through all the people, the crazy people he meets along the way, and eventually realizing by the end that he's not as innocent of a person as he was. He's kind of dead inside to, like, and not to spoil too much of the game, even though technically I don't even know the spoilers myself, because I don't know most of what the endings mean. I've never played the game. It's just that by the end he realized a lot about himself, which makes him feel dead inside. It's like, man, this all I did these things, and these things all happened. And it just sort of, like, breaks you inside and leaves you a shell of your former self. And not that I'm an expert on, like, mental health or anything, but, like, that's just, like, at least through the lens of the game. That's the sort of emotional journey that James Sunderland goes through, and that I tried to replicate through this arrangement. And even as you might notice, or not notice because it's very lazy, TBH, I tried to do my best James Sunderland cosplay in this by having very normal, unsaturated blue jeans, a normal sort of coat. James Sunderland is like an army baby barf green. I had like a baby barf like black sort of one, so it's close enough. So very close, as close as I can get to a cosplay. But you know, it's all about retelling that journey of James Sunderland through the arrangement and through the different arrangement techniques. And so yeah, that is Promise Reprise from Silent Hill 2. Thanks, Kim. I'm glad you can enjoy my lazy cosplays. But yeah, does anyone else have any other questions about this? Because I had fun arranging this piece, at least, because it's, you know, it's a pretty iconic horror movie piece. Horror game, not horror movie piece. I don't know when I'm going back to movie stuff. I want to do another movie thing soon. I was debating more like I want to cover something Godzilla related before the new Godzilla movie comes out, because I am a budding Godzilla fan in the making. Who's ready for on the channel next month? I swear, I have to be on record. I want to do something Godzilla related. But yeah, that is today's DS Dissects. It looks like personally, I feel like we definitely got less turnout than like the DS Dissects that happened right after a video. It might just be because of the subject of the video being less, like, you know, popular among the audience, so maybe less people were interested in coming to see this one, or it might be because of the timing. So I'll have to try it with another video, like next week's video. I'll probably end up doing another later DS Dissects just to see how many people show up for that one. And if that works out or not, then I'll try that at least one or two more times, and then make a decision on whether we wanted to do it on earlier Friday or later Friday. So yeah, that is Promise Reprise from Silent Hill 2. And I hope you enjoyed this. I actually got a lot more out of this personally than I thought I would, because gosh, I'm tired. I thought I was going to be like, well, you know, there's some notes here. The notes are played. Yay. But honestly, I've managed to spitball more than I thought I would be. So I hope you guys enjoyed my spitballing. Anyways, take care, and I will catch you guys later. Catch you guys on next week. Please let me go to my OBS. Yeah. I still need to make a graphic that says stream ending soon instead of stream starting soon. But I'll get that eventually. So take care and have a good weekend, y'all.